Hello and welcome to another video episode, depending on whether you're watching or listening to this. So, if I had to define myself, I would define myself as a systems thinker, as a model, as someone who works with models. And this feeds into the way I teach sessions as well and teach skills. For me, it's much more important to teach a model than a specific way of doing things. Models can be related to a variety of different circumstances. They inform your thinking. They don't go, you have to use this fire lay in this situation. You go, these are the principles of setting up a fire. If you violate these principles, you're in trouble. But any way that you set up a fire that adheres to these principles will work. So even if I teach you that you want really fine material of this kind in a tinder bundle, it doesn't matter whether you are in Australia or Austria, you will be able to find that fine material. But if you go, you need to gather a bundle of sticky weed cleavers to light a fire, then you'll be stuck if you are in a different situation. So models have value, and I try and set up models wherever I can. I mentioned in a previous video that I'm working on a model for assessing the risk of wind speed, because at the moment I'm just making a best guess for my judgment, and I'd like a model to inform that, similar to the way we work our risk-benefit analysis. And one of the things that I've been struggling with the model for is pricing. Pricing for hiring a woodland site. Now, this is a question I see quite often on Facebook groups, so on, is I've just been offered use of this piece of land. How much is a fair price for them to charge? Or how much should I offer them for the use of their site? And also in thinking about, personally, about if a woodland would come up for sale and I'd buy it, what would be the return? Would I be able to pay it off? And woodlands, as you'd probably suspect, are massive investments, and the numbers are so big, it makes it difficult. Like, how could I actually earn enough to pay something like that back? And then I realized that this was flawed thinking. Now, this is my thinking, and I could be wrong. This is a model that still needs to be tested. But if you look at it from the point of view of an investment, because an investment isn't something like a car that you pay off that then declines in value. Investment is something that you buy that then increases in value regardless of how much more money you put in. So, for example, a stock. You buy a share in a company, and when that company does better, your stock does better, your stock appreciates. You're not worried about paying off that original stock. You can, at any point, sell the stock for hopefully a little more than you bought it for, and you can make a profit from the difference. But that sort of trading isn't going to work with woodlands. But the example still stands. We should be looking at woodlands as investment, and this is probably why there isn't a lot of woodland for sale. It's being bought up as an investment in land. So my thinking is, treat it as an investment. What is a good return on investment? And it's roughly between 3 to 5% averaged out. More is obviously better for some people, but I'd say if you were getting a consistent 5% return on your investment, highs and lows of economy, whatever, then you'd be doing well. So we can then start to apply this as a rule of system. So we can go, okay, the value of the woodland, if it's 6 acres or whatever, and it's X amount per acre, let's say it works out to a woodland value of 100,000. This is a woodland I saw for sale quite recently and seemed a relatively fair price. So say it's 100,000. Go, okay, what is 5% of 100,000? And then we come up with a figure of 500, I believe. It's early, maths isn't great. But then we can work out, okay, well, if it's this, sorry, it's 5,000, what am I thinking? 100,000, 5,000 is our 5%. So the owner of the investment should be expecting to make at least 5% from their woodland over the course of a year. Now, of course, there are management costs. So cost to survey and fell trees, cost of insurance, cost of maintenance to access, and also cost of maintenance of any buildings within that. So that can be a compost toilet, it can be a tap, it can be a little lodge with a wood fire or something like that. So if we go 5% plus the annual maintenance, they'll give us a annual figure, and then we can then subtract that. We can add those together and we can go, okay, divide it by 12. This is how much a woodland owner would be looking to get a month. And then we can go even further and say, okay, this is how much they need to earn per week. And if there are 3 sessions happening through on a week, then this is how much each session should charge. And from that, we then have a pricing model. And as far as I've been able to work out, it seems to test out reasonably well in just on paper. Because at 5%, how long will it take you to pay off the entire woodland? It'd be 20 years. 25 years at 4%, which is a pretty fair time horizon to earn 100,000 odd. Because you remember, you'll still have the underlying value of the asset, which is only going to increase because of land increasing, barring some major economic restructuring. So that tells us that in 20-25 years we can pay it all off. This is probably a pretty average mortgage. Average mortgage is probably closer to 30 years, but that seems a pretty fair structure. So this is what I'm starting to think about. If I was offered a woodland, my thought would be, okay, if I'm going to buy it, how many sessions would I have to run through? At what cost would I have to have paid to a piggy bank to pay off that mortgage? Or if I was renting a woodland from someone else, going, what is the average cost per acre? How much should this woodland be worth? Add in a little bit extra for facilities, say good car parking or compost toilet. Divide it by 12. Well, work out 5% of that, divide that by 12, and you have a figure that you can reasonably offer. When I did this on paper for 110,000 pound woodland, it worked out to roughly between 25 and 40 a day for something with no facilities. So we can probably estimate from that somewhere in the region of 40 to 50 is more than a fair price, and probably the midpoint around £35 per day for woodland without facilities would be just about right. So guys, let me know what you think about that model. See whether it works for you. I'd love to hear from some woodland owners whether this would be a fair way of working out your high pricing. And with that, I think my battery is going to head downhill after this point. So I'm going to say really quickly, thank you so much for watching and listening. Remember to make the most of every day. I'll catch you all next time.